The Odyssey by Homer. Translated by Robert Fagles. Read by Mr. Belson. Book 17. Stranger at the Gates. When young Dawn with her rose-red fingers shone once more, Telemachus strapped his rawhide sandals to his feet, and the young prince, the son of King Odysseus, picked up the rugged spear that fit his grip, and striking out for the city, told his swineherd, "I'm off to town, old friend, to present myself to mother. She'll never stop her bitter tears and mourning, well I know, till she sees me face to face. And for you I have some orders. Take this luckless stranger to town, so he can beg his supper there, and whoever wants can give the man some crumbs and a cup to drink. How can I put up with every passer-by? My mind's weighed down with troubles. If the stranger resents it, all the worse for him. I'd like to tell the truth, and tell it plainly." "My friend," subtle Odysseus broke in, "I have no desire myself to linger here. Better that beggars cage their meals in town than in the fields. Some willing soul will see to my need. I'm hardly fit, at my age, to keep to a farm and jump to a foreman's every order. Go on, then. This man will take me, as you've told him, once I'm warm from the fire and the sun's good and strong. Look at the clothing on my back, all rags and tatters. I'm afraid the frost at dawn could do me in. And town, you say, is a long, hard way from here." At that, Telemachus strode down through the farm, in quick, firm strides, brooding death for the suitors. And once he reached his well-constructed palace, propping his spear against a sturdy pillar, and crossing the stone threshold, in he went. His old nurse was the first to see him, Euryclea, just spreading fleeces over the carved inlaid chairs. Tears sprang to her eyes. She rushed straight to the prince as the other maids of great Odysseus flocked around him, hugged him warmly, kissed his head and shoulders. Now down from her chamber came discreet Penelope, looking for all the world like Artemis or golden Aphrodite, bursting into tears as she flung her arms around her darling son and kissed his face and kissed his shining eyes and sobbed, "You're home, Telemachus." Words flew from her heart. "Sweet light of my eyes, I never thought I'd see you again. Once you shipped to Pylos, against my will, so secret, out for news of your dear father. Quick, tell me, did you catch sight of the man, meet him? What?" "Please, mother," steady Telemachus replied, "don't move me to tears. Don't stir the heart inside me. I've just escaped from death, sudden death. No, bathe now, put on some fresh clothes, go up to your own room with your serving women, pray, and promise the gods a generous sacrifice to bring success, if Zeus will ever grant us the hour of our revenge. I myself am off to the meeting grounds to summon up a guest, who came with me from abroad when I sailed home. I sent him on ahead with my trusted crew. I told Piraeus to take him to his house, treat him well, host him with all good will till I could come myself." Words to the mark that left his mother silent. She bathed now, put on some fresh clothes, prayed, and promised the gods a generous sacrifice to bring success, if Zeus would ever grant the hour of their revenge. Spear in hand, Telemachus strode on through the hall and out, and a pair of sleek hounds went trotting at his heels. And Athena lavished a marvelous splendor on the prince, so all the people gazed in wonder as he came forward. The swaggering suitors clustered, milling round him, welcome words on their lips and murder in their hearts. But he gave them a wide berth as they came crowding in, and there, where Mentor sat, Antiphus, Halitherses too, his father's royal friends from days gone by, he took his seat as they pressed him with their questions. And just then Piraeus, the gallant spearman, approached, leading the stranger through the town and out onto the meeting grounds. Telemachus, not hanging back, went right up to greet Theoclymenus, his guest, when Piraeus spoke out first. "Quickly now, Telemachus, send some women to my house to retrieve the gifts that Menelaus gave you." "Wait, Piraeus, worry," Telemachus cautioned. "We've no idea how all this will go. If the brazen suitors cut me down in the palace, off guard, and carve apart my father's whole estate, I'd rather you yourself, or one of his friends here, keep those gifts and get some pleasure from them. But if I can bring down slaughter on that crew, you send the gifts to my house. We'll share the joy." Their plans made, he led the way-worn stranger home, and once they reached the well-constructed palace, spreading out their cloaks on a chair or bench, into the burnished tubs they climbed and bathed. When women had washed them, rubbed them down with oil, and drawn warm fleece and shirts around their shoulders, out of the baths they stepped and sat on high-backed chairs. A maid brought water soon in a graceful golden pitcher, and over a silver basin tipped it out, so they might rinse their hands, then pulled a gleaming table to their side. A staid housekeeper brought on bread to serve them, appetizers aplenty too, lavish with her bounty. Penelope sat across from her son beside a pillar, leaning back on a low chair and winding fine-spun yarn. They reached out for the good things that lay at hand, and when they'd put aside desire for food and drink, the queen, for all her composure, said at last, "Telemachus, I'm going back to my room upstairs and lie down on my bed. That bed of pain my tears have streaked year in, year out, from the day Odysseus sailed away to Troy with Atreus' 2 sons. But you never had the heart, before those insolent suitors crowd back to the house, to tell me clearly about your father's journey home, if you've heard any news." "Of course, mother," thoughtful Telemachus reassured her quickly. "I will tell you the whole true story now. We sailed to Pylos, to Nestor, the great king, and he received me there in his lofty palace, treated me well and warmly, yes, as a father treats a long-lost son just home from voyaging years abroad. Such care he showered on me, he and his noble sons. But of strong, enduring Odysseus, dead or alive, he's heard no news, he said, from any man on earth. He sent me on to the famous spearman Atrides Menelaus, on with a team of horses drawing a bolted chariot. And there I saw her, Helen of Argos. All for her Achaeans and Trojans suffered so much hardship, thanks to the gods' decree. The lord of the war-cry, Menelaus, asked me at once what pressing need had brought me to a lovely Lacedaemon. And when I told him the whole story, first to last, the king burst out, 'How shameful! That's the bed of a brave man of war they'd like to crawl inside, those spineless, craven cowards! Weak as the doe that beds down her fawns in a mighty lion's den, her newborn sucklings, then trails off to the mountain spurs and grassy bends to graze her fill. But back the lion comes to his own lair, and the master deals both fawns a ghastly, bloody death. Just what Odysseus will deal that mob, ghastly death.' Ah, if only Father Zeus, Athena, and Lord Apollo, that man who years ago in the games at Lesbos rose to Philomelides' challenge, wrestled him, pinned him down with one tremendous throw, and the Argives roared with joy. If only that Odysseus sported with those suitors, a blood wedding, a quick death would take the lot. But about the things you've asked me so intently, I'll skew and sidestep nothing, not deceive you, ever. Of all he told me, the man of the sea who never lies, I'll hide or hold back nothing, not a single word. He said he'd seen Odysseus on an island, ground down in misery off in a goddess's house, the nymph Calypso, who holds him there by force. He has no way to voyage home to his own native land, no trim ships in reach, no crew to ply the oars and send him scudding over the sea's broad back. So Menelaus, the famous spearman, told me. My mission accomplished, back I came at once, and the gods sent me a stiff following wind that sped me home to the native land I love. His reassurance stirred the queen to her depths, and the godlike seer, Theoclymenus, added firmly, Noble lady, wife of Laertes' son Odysseus, Menelaus can have no perfect revelations. Mark my words. I will make you a prophecy, quite precise, and I'll hold nothing back. I swear by Zeus, the first of all the gods, by his table of hospitality here, my host, by Odysseus's hearth, where I have come for help, I swear Odysseus is on native soil, here and now, poised or on the prow, learning of these rank crimes, he's sowing seeds of ruin for all your suitors. So clear, so true, that bird sign I saw as I sat on the benched ship and sounded out the future to the prince. If only, my friend, reserved Penelope exclaimed, everything you say would come to pass. You'd soon know my affection, know my gifts. Any man you meet would call you blessed. And so the three confided in the halls, while all the suitors, before Odysseus's palace, amused themselves with discus and long throwing spears. Out on the level grounds, free and easy as always, full of swagger. When the dinner hour approached, and sheep came home from pastures near and far, driven in by familiar drovers, Medon called them all, their favorite herald, always present at their meals. My young lords, now you've played your games in your heart's content, come back to the hall so we can fix your supper. Nothing's better than dining well on time. They came at his summons, rising from the games, and now, bustling into the well-constructed palace, flinging down their cloaks on a chair or bench, they butchered hulking sheep and fatted goats, full-grown hogs and a young cow from the herd, preparing for their feast. At the same time, the king and his loyal swineherd geared to leave the country for their town. Eumaeus, foreman of men, set things in motion. Friend, I know you're keen on going down today, just as my master bid, though I'd rather you stay here to guard the farm. But I prize the boy. I fear he'll blame me later. A dressing down from your master's hard to bear. So off we go now. The shank of the day is past. You'll find it colder with nightfall coming on. I know. I see your point, the crafty man replied. There's sense in this old head. So let's be off. And from now on, you lead me all the way. Just give me a stick to lean on. If you have one ready cut. You say the road is treacherous, full of slips and slides. With that, he flung his beggar sack across his shoulders, torn and tattered. Slung from a fraying rope, Eumaeus gave him a staff that met his needs. Then the two moved out, leaving behind them dogs and herdsmen to stay and guard the farm. And so the servant led his master toward the city, looking for all the world like an old and broken beggar hunched on a stick, his body wrapped in shameful rags.